Hello and welcome to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. Thank you for joining us at a different time because we have been going through it these last few weeks, trying to find times to get together. Jim, how you doing, brother?
Doing all right, man. Listen, hey, happy Steelers training camp day to everybody. Happy trade deadline week for Pirates fans because I have a feeling this could be an interesting week. So, yeah, everyone's busy right now, but we make time for everybody, Gary.
And we lost some big names this week, man. Malcolm Jamal Warner, those of you who grew up on the Cosby Show, my goodness, that was the start. Then Ozzy Osbourne, which honestly put me into full-blown adult male tears when I was sitting here listening to music and crying and I grew up with Ozzy, man. I've seen him 11 times in concert.
I saw that.
It's not something that I took lightly. And then the Hulkster today, Hulk Hogan, that kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's a rough week for kids that grew up in the 80s, right? Like, those were guys that, if you grew up in that time, that you knew of them. You just knew of them. And it's one of those things where it's just a reminder, Gary. We spent a couple minutes right before we even came on the show talking about our ailments. We're not getting any younger, brother.
Oh, let's see here. PlayStation addictions. Well, hey, I used to have that too, but now I don't have time for it. What's up, guys? I watch DK's Daily Shots every day. Saw this and figured I'd see what's up. Well, here
welcome, dude.
Show you what's up. Appreciate you being here, man. Or lady. Sorry, that's not really a gender-specific name, I should say.
This is true.
So anyways, Jim, I'm wearing my Altoona shirt and my Greensboro hat. And why am I doing that? Because Connor Griffin just today has been named the #1 prospect in all of baseball. Roman Anthony has graduated, and that means that our boy Connor Griffin is the #1 prospect in the entire game.
Old friend of the show, and that was super fun having him on at the time, and we were both blown away by his composure and his maturity, and turns out we didn't even know what was really coming. So yeah, Gary, I mean, first of all, they got Connor Griffin #1. I think Bubba's still in the top 4 or 5.
Yeah, Bubba's 5th
overall
now.
Yeah. So, on that front, that's really good. And, it's just funny with Connor Griffin because, there was a time where I was like, everybody slow down, everybody relax, you got to give him time. And they still do. You still have to give him some time. But, kind of think all bets are off when a guy has this kind of meteoric rise and seems to just be getting better and better.
I think they're going to have a real hard time not promoting him to Altoona this year. It just feels like that's going to happen. He's really not even taken a slight step back in Greensboro. He kind of just went right after it. I think the sooner they get him challenged, the better they'll be. So, I mean, I would probably consider moving him up to Altoona here as soon as possible. I think he's got a real shot to debut next year. I'm not kidding. I know we talked about not trying to get too aggressive or anything.
Right.
But Jim, look at what's happening in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
Not just the Pirates. Major League Baseball in general is trying to get these kids to move faster through these systems. And I think it's something that we're going to see continue to be a trend, especially, I think, if we get a little bit more aggressive of a GM.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, is that if you look around this game the last 3-4 years especially, guys are coming up fast. And you've got somebody that is just literally everything they've put in front of him so far, he's more than held his own. So I don't put any expectations on it now, either way, good or bad, because if he keeps going like this, why would you hold him back?
It's funny because you don't often see, it's funny when we get these prospects. Sometimes you end up forming a better relationship with the parents of the prospects than you do the prospects because they like to talk, and they'll reach out to certain locals. And Jim did a great job of meeting Kevin, and I think they've kept in touch. And he started following me now too, so we talk every once in a while on X. He's been very consistent. Pump the brakes,
Yes.
brakes, right?
Yeah.
More than I've seen just about anyone. But I mean, he's part of the reason why the brakes aren't getting pumped because he helped Connor like kind of make some changes to adjust his swing and everything before he even got here. I mean, so maybe Kevin should just kind of like realize that he did maybe a really, really good job, right? Of coaching his son.
Dad, my guess is Dad's a really proud dad of his son, but just wants to make sure he doesn't jinx anything on the way through here. So, kudos to Kevin because he's always he's the biggest voice of reason in all this, maybe.
Yeah, I know DK's doing like a live Steeler thing on the opening day of training camp, and somehow we've still got great numbers in here. So thank you all. You want to be watching Pirates content more than Angel Cervantes wanted to sign with the Pirates, right? So the Pirates' second round pick decides to decline and go to UCLA. This is always a possibility. Important to note that the Pirates get the 51st pick next year in exchange for this. So that's basically a comp A pick. It's a good pick to have.
Sure.
Good. And next year's draft might be one of the deeper ones we've had in the past half decade. So not a bad time to have another high pickup there, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, at least look, is it disappointing you don't get that pen to paper with someone? Absolutely. Um, and it's a risk for the player too, you just never know with those things. That's money you're turning down. I thought it was curious that the player was actually retweeting some things about it. So I wonder if that's just the kid that's confident and ready to go to college and come back and he's gambling on himself, or if things just didn't go well. I don't know. I haven't heard anything one way or the other with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't read too much into this. I think any pitcher that decides not to come to the Pirates right now, I don't believe it has a whole lot to do with their perception that they're going to fail. I think if anything, this is just a kid that I think had a lot of friends that went to UCLA too, like that he's
Yeah,
been
you never know.
growing up playing with. I know because he retweeted out the roster, and I know he knows a lot of those guys, and I think he's just looking forward to it. And also, you get like this is a guy that probably thinks he's a number one talent, and he probably will be. So he's betting on himself and going back to school for a couple years, probably come out of it a number one pick, a little bit of a faster path through the minors, a little bit less bus riding. I don't think it's outlandish at all to understand why a guy might want to change his mind.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors with it that you obviously we would not know. And some people just feel like they're maybe not ready to get into all that just yet, like the professional side of things, and they want a year or two to sort that out.
Especially
Boy,
with NIL in the LA area.
yeah,
Come
that's
on.
true
And he's
too.
going to be the stud pitcher on that roster. Come on now. He's going to do
That's
fine.
that's true, and maybe his family situation is good. You know what I mean? Like there's that comes into play that the money is not the biggest factor. So, boy, I would hate to be that age and having to make that. Well, I'd love to be that age and making that decision, but I'd also hate it too because you just never know what the future holds.
Right. So you guys are putting a lot of good questions in the chat. We are going to be talking about, just before we go to a break, I might as well tell you everything we're going to talk about.
Yeah,
We're going to be
dude.
talking about some of the recent trade rumors, if you will, and whether they really have a chance in hell of actually happening. And then we'll talk a little bit about these two sweeps back to back, right? Swept by the worst team in baseball, potentially one of the worst teams in baseball, and then you sweep the best team in baseball, at least as far as the record goes. Makes no sense. We want to talk about it. We got a cool call your shot. Going to be a good show. You ready?
Let's go.
All right, break time. We'll be right back.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
All right, welcome back to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. They just celebrated 11 years in business, Jim. Does not feel like 11 years ago that launched, does it?
No, Gary, I saw something the other day. It was like, yeah, this is going to happen in 2031. And I'm like, why are we worrying about something that's like 15 years away? And I'm like, oh, wait, that's going to be 6 years away. So my concept of time at this point is totally gone. Totally.
Right. So let's start with one of these original questions that came in here about O'Neill Cruz, because there's been all these rumors going around about O'Neill and whatnot. And I think the first thing I want to say before we even get into this conversation, Jim, I think you all need to really, really start second guessing what you consider to be an actual trade rumor. Okay? Especially for this baseball team. This baseball team in particular, they have a policy where they will listen if you call about anything. Doesn't matter what it is. Like, so if somebody, they've already come out on the record and said, we're not trading Paul Skeens. But if someone calls tomorrow and they go, listen, I know you're not going to trade him. Just hear me out. They're going to hear him out. They're going to hear what he has to say. And then all it takes is Jeff Passan hearing that the Pirates listened to an offer on Paul Skeens, and that'll be his report. And then you will think, oh, it's happening. And that's just what happened with O'Neill Cruz this week. That trade is not going to happen. There is no package that anyone's going to present to the Pirates that's going to get that done.
This is the problem, Gary. We are a society of headline readers. And headlines get you into trouble. And they are written specific ways for very specific reasons. And you've got to read through things because that's the only way you're going to get the gist of it. And then you have to like read it again, maybe, and then make sure that what you're reading is what the headline's saying and so forth. We don't do that anymore. And I think that that's why we get a lot of this stuff. You know, someone takes it, regurgitates it a little bit the wrong way, then someone else does it. And next thing you know, O'Neill Cruz is going to be traded at the deadline. So I think that, and that's just with everything right now. So that's my biggest problem with it. Like, come on, man, read stories.
And even if you read the stories, screw your head on straight. That's all. I mean, like, really, look at this team. The rumors about like Reynolds and Cruz in particular are the ones that make me the most insane. This team already doesn't have enough hitting. There is no world in which those two would be on the table if you're even pretending to want to win in 2026. And no matter what you think, they're certainly at least pretending they want to win in 2026, right? You can't trade either of those guys and pretend this offense is going to take a step forward, despite what Reynolds is doing this year.
Yeah, if you look at both of those guys, there are so many reasons why it won't happen and wouldn't happen. They're for different reasons, I think, but it's just not one or two things. You can go through, you know, the Pirates don't have hitters, that they'd be trading them at their lowest values, that anybody you would get for in return would not be close to major league ready players. There's so many things with it that just don't make a lot of sense. O'Neill Cruz is under control. We know how the Pirates value that. And you can be frustrated with O'Neill Cruz and Brian Reynolds. I get it, but to me, they're the wrong names to be talking about at the trade deadline for the Pirates. Like they're on the bottom list. Like they shouldn't be taking up any space in
I
this
would agree.
conversation.
I would agree. So Neil says here, do you think Keller is actually traded at the deadline? I think it should be over the winter with the next GM if deemed necessary. I don't how many months in a row have we been saying this exact same sentence? The guy's here. Okay? Like if a trade comes along for Mitch Keller that makes sense for this team, I don't give a crap who pulls the trigger on it. I want it done. Like I keep seeing in the chat here, even here, it has to be major league hitters. Well, you got to trade things that are going to bring back major league hitters. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa ain't going to bring you back a major league hitter. Andrew Heaney is not going to bring you back a major league hitter. Tommy Pham is not going to bring you back a major league hitter. So your all or nothing statements about what you need to have, you're not going to get it from trading rentals. If you really, really require a major league return, you're going to have to send something out that's either a very high quality, high value prospect, probably a couple, or a major league player. They don't have all that many of them they can part with. The reason Mitch Keller has so much legs is because it could bring you back that major league. I just talked to my friend from Boston this morning. They definitely want to move an outfielder, and it would definitely take Mitch Keller. But you could get it. You could get Duran. I think you could get Duran. I think you could get Abreu. I think you could get Garcia from the minors, that password kid.
Yeah.
In particular, I think you might be able to trade a prospect pitcher for. They don't even have a plan to get him up to the major leagues. They don't have any place to put him. You know what I mean? So they're going to move an outfielder probably, but it's going to take something big. And I just don't care who does it. Okay. I understand like the people that like have been listening to DK for the past 3 months every morning screaming this GM shouldn't be able to do anything. I get it.
Right. But it is the reality at this point.
Here, the deadline's here. If you really feel that way, why are we talking trades? Let's just stop talking trades then. Why are we even concerning ourselves with it? We're concerning with it because it's clearly friggin' possible. That's why.
Well, you have to be open to both, right? Like there's an argument to be made. You can say, well, yeah, ideally, you don't get what you want. It's not there at the trade deadline. Wait till the off season. But if it is there, by all means, do it. So, and we don't even know. We think we have a good idea about Ben Cherington, but we don't know. You know, we don't know what's going to happen.
I don't think anybody could know. I think I wrote in 5 thoughts this week. It doesn't make any sense because it doesn't make any sense. What they're doing with the GM, it makes no sense. I can't make sense of it. I'm tired of trying to, but it still is what is. He's here. He's here right now. And I don't care if he's nothing more than the Wizard of Oz and he's behind the curtain and the real power is somewhere else. Maybe that's the case. But we're not going to know. And we're approaching a trade deadline where they're going to get offers thrown at them left and right.
And that was my question. And that's been my question the whole time, which was, what if he is here? So we just don't do anything? He's going to be here for 2-3 years now, and you don't do anything because you can't trust him? That's not a solution either.
I think it's funny that we talk about these 2 sweeps back to back, right? You know, and they got their butts handed to them by the White Sox, who are continuing to hit like that, which is crazy, right? Even after they left. And Detroit, they've been struggling. Pirates beat them. Largely fueled by 2 trade acquisitions of Ben Cherington, Bailey Falter and Spencer Horwitz. Oh, and by the way, David Bednar closed it out. The guy can make some trades. He can make some bad ones too. He's done both. But I could argue, I don't think he's traded an asset like Mitch Keller. Joe Musgrove is the closest I can come to on that. And he had less team control left. And he was less proven out. Mitch Keller, to me, is the biggest piece he's ever had to dangle. I don't think that it's a necessity that they have to move Keller. And I think if I had my druthers, yeah, they probably would wait for the offseason to deal with it. I think that would probably be the prudent thing to do. I think that's ultimately what Bob Nutting's going to push them into. I just don't think he's going to have the nuts to say yes to any of these big trades. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it is the biggest piece Sherrington has had to work with. And it only takes one or two teams to decide they really are going to go all in to push that return to what you'd feel like you couldn't say no to. So, yeah.
Here, Jim, here's a question for you.
Okay.
You have fun with Neil for once.
All
Jim,
right.
do you trust him after he thought Brian De La Cruz would take them to the playoffs? He's way too incompetent to net a good return.
Oh, Neil, I don't think Ben Sherrington thought that Brian De La Cruz would take them to the playoffs. First off, I clearly, if those are the types of guys he'd be targeting, we're not trading Mitch Keller. Nobody's going there with it. I just think that to me is a little bit apples.
I think
and
we
oranges.
forget we traded Shim, a pitcher who had one inning pitched in the minor leagues that has not pitched for Miami yet. And Garrett Forrester, a prospect they couldn't find a position for and was never going to make it here in Pittsburgh and will never make it in Miami. They traded absolutely nothing for him, and they cut him loose when it didn't work out. They took a swing at a guy that had extra years of control just in case the power actually came through here. It wasn't the right swing. It wasn't a good swing. It didn't move the ball forward. It didn't advance the team last year. It also didn't hurt the team in any way, shape, or form. They're not losing anything by what they traded.
They were super safe, super conservative moves for a team that had 1 foot in and 1 foot out of deciding what they wanted to do as far as competing last year.
Yeah.
That's just how I look at it. I think it's a totally different scenario. And do I think Ben Sherrington's good at his job? No. Do I think if a certain team comes along and offers something, is he smart enough to realize he cannot pass it up? Yes. I do think that. So.
Yeah. And Mike loves to come in here and state the obvious, so let's go ahead and get it up here for him. IKF, Heaney, Ferguson, Bednar, Hayes, and Pham will all be dealt. Well, they'll try to deal them. Maybe. I don't know about Bednar. I really don't. The more I think about David Bednar, the less I think they're going to actually pull the trigger on it. I think they'll probably try to seek an extension with him, to be honest. And I think that's probably a mistake. We've said that going back about a year now.
Yeah.
But it just feels to me like that's the way it's trending, Jim.
Yeah, and I think I think I'm comfortable saying that I think IKF is gone. I think they'll move Pham if they can. Hayes, I don't know if there's going to be a fit there necessarily. But Bednar,
I think the Yankees' left side of their infield has been laughable the last couple weeks. It's been losing them games. I think there's a good shot that the Yankees are legitimately interested in Brian Hayes.
I think they are, but I think he's like a plan B or C in that scenario. So, I don't know how that shakes out. As far as Bednar, I agree with you. I think they might not move him. I think Santana is the one that I think might be on the move.
It's funny because I would probably do the opposite if I was given the choice. I just think Santana's the guy I would hold on to and try to extend, if only because I think he's got less mileage on his arm. And I just think it would be cheaper. And I'd rather them spend money elsewhere. But Bednar, I think he's probably one of those guys that Bob's going to want to extend. And I just think right now we're in a situation, good or bad, where I don't think Ben Sherrington's going to have an awful lot of no's in his bank if he's going to start talking to Bob Nutting. And I see Bednar will be a 10 mil plus. Yeah, we've said that a billion times on this show. We know. That's why we think we should be traded. But I think if you get an extension for him, like you can get him to take a hometown deal with, if you're gonna, it would be him. If anybody's gonna take it, it would be him. But if you can get him to take like what, 8 mil a year for 2-3 years, okay. It isn't like he's not performing good. I'd be okay with it. I just don't know that I fully believe they're going to need a feature closer next year yet.
Yeah, and I don't know how teams like view Santana in the sense of like he's not like your prototypical like closer guy.
Sure.
So where does someone want him to just strengthen their bullpen, or are they going to try to use him as a closer? And I think that matters too for what kind of value you might be talking. So that's
I don't think a
probably
lot of people would use him as a closer. I think you're right. I think your
yeah,
inclination's right there.
right. Like they want to shore up the bullpen, but not maybe in going that route with it. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I do think this is going to be interesting. I keep hearing Caleb Ferguson. I think they'll hold on to Caleb Ferguson.
They might not have a choice but to hang on to Caleb Ferguson the way he's gone these last couple weeks. Hasn't been very good these last couple weeks. You know, they might actually get stuck with him one way or another. I mean, you got Ryan Barucki's probably going to come back like right after the trade deadline, maybe right before. Tim Mays is right there. Colin Holderman, you know, they're going to get him back up here. Gowrie Moretta. Oviedo's probably even going to slide into the bullpen real soon. So I think like you have a lot of guys like that. It makes sense to clean out some of the bullpen clutter if you can. But I don't know that they would ever consider Bednar to be cluttered. I don't think they would. You know what I mean?
Yeah. To me, the whole thing with Bednar just comes down to it got really ugly there. It makes it really complicated when the hometown guy can't close games anymore. I just don't want to have that happen again. It's kind of like the saying from one of the Batman movies. It was something like either die the hero or live long enough to be the villain. Like I would rather him not live long enough here to be the villain again. You know, like it's a great time to just part ways. That's how on top, he can go try to win somewhere else.
Let's go
That's
out good, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like here's a good one here. I love Bailey Falter, but you got to see what you can get after his bounce back. I agree that they should see what they can get for him, but I think this is where a lot of fans kind of fall on their face when they start talking about trades. And this is not directed at you in particular, but just I see a lot of this. Inning to inning, outing to outing, at bat to at bat, game to game. That's not where these trade decisions come from. Like Bailey Falter has appeared in 59 games for the Pirates, and that's been 291 innings. That's what they're going to base it on. They're not basing it on how he just performed against the Tigers. They're not looking at that Chicago White Sox outing and going, well, that's Bailey Falter right there in a nutshell. No. Bailey Falter's an innings eater, a lefty, a guy that somebody could stick in their 4 or 5 slot of their rotation and be pretty happy with. Probably a low-cost acquisition. The Pirates aren't going to want nothing for him, but that's a guy that you could probably get a major league hitter for, I would think. He's got 3 years of control left. You know, that's a decent pitcher.
Yeah, that's one of those like savvy moves a team makes at the deadline, right? Where I look at it like the Zane Smith type guy that you bring in. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, but Zane Smith had the most unbelievable post deadline run ever. He was crazy.
True, but you know what I'm saying though, like that guy that like maybe flew under the radar that you get because you need pitching and he can pitch pretty well in games. So could they look at moving someone like Falter? Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody was interested in it, Yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't, especially if it can bring back a major league bat. That's kind of what you need to think about, and that's why you can't just go, well, the wrong guy's the GM. I don't want to do nothing. To me, listen, I'm sorry. If that's the kind of simplistic talk you want to have, this ain't your show. That's just not where I'm at.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk about it.
And you mentioned something too that I picked up on even with something else, which is I think fans get very caught up in like, man, this guy's just been on fire the last like 2-3 weeks or whatever, or a prospect that you want, from somewhere else. Like they're that doesn't really come into play when they're looking at guys to either move or acquire. It's the long haul look at everything.
Great, for instance, is if you sell Tommy Pham right now, which we hope they do. But if you sell Tommy Pham, you're not selling the best hitter in Major League Baseball that his stats say he's been in the past 3-4 weeks. You're selling Tommy Pham. And unfortunately, there's a whole lot more evidence about what Tommy Pham is. Okay? Like, nobody's going to buy him thinking that he's the key to their playoff run. They're going to get him to be a bench player. And he will not start. Ever. Unless it's like an emergency.
Yes, and you're still looking at all the underlying metrics with somebody and seeing what's really there and what you can expect moving forward. They really don't care about, this like 3-4 week hot stretch for Tommy Pham or prospects. It's what are they going to do for you long term with a as reasonable of an assessment as they can get. They're not going to get caught up in that stuff.
Yeah. Like I see placeholders for prospects here, or like our prospects or the guys we have here are placeholders for those prospects. I think it's a dangerous way to look. I think you have to a degree. Okay. Like the only reason we're considering this Mitch Keller move is because we think we have more pitching coming. But I would just caution everybody it's a definite 100% step back pitching wise. You are definitely losing one of your footholds and you're replacing it with hope. That's okay. You could do it. Sometimes you have to do it. But this is not just a drop-in replacement thing. In fact, the more I've watched Bubba Chandler, the less I believe he's a drop-in replacement. I think he's going to take some work. Hunter Barco's probably the closest I see to just coming up here and being ready to fire, but he's got innings count restrictions that are just going to keep him from really jumping into the fire this year entirely. Mike Burrows looks great, but they might go back and try Ashcraft again. Oviedo might get another shot. They have guys, but I wouldn't call any of them placeholders yet. Only because prospects are prospects until they come up here and do it. And I would remind you that Mitch Keller was ranked higher than Bubba is right now.
I was just thinking of that
before he came out.
As you were going into this, I'm like, if you think back, so that's what happens, right? A lot of times it takes guys sometimes a long time to actually.
Producer brings up a great point here. Keep Keller and trade Bubba.
Well, is that a good poll question, Gary?
I think that's what a normal team would do in this situation. Okay, I don't want to keep referencing it, but I was talking to this Red Sox person, and we were talking about Password Garcia. He's like top-ranked outfielder in their system. Just got to AAA this year, but he's really, really killing it. He's really come up from AA to AAA. Tons of power. I think you could trade somebody like Bubba Chandler directly for him. It's a prospect swap. You don't have to lose Keller. You get an outfielder. They get a pitcher for next year. Doesn't affect this team at all. Just a direct swap. And then you don't have to go through the homework of onboarding him. Now, if you think it's going to look like it did with Jared Jones, where Jared Jones just comes up here and looks great, I would just remind you, Jared Jones' second half didn't look so great. Because at some point, prospects are going to prospect unless they're named Paul Skeens. That's the way it is.
Yeah, I think when you look at the big picture here is Pirate fans we're a funny lot. Rightly so. We've been we've been tortured many years. I think everybody is just so afraid to make a mistake. Even the fans, right? Like we're terrified of making a mistake. Well, I would submit to you that we've made a lot of mistakes and we're still here. I just don't think you can adopt that with everything moving forward too.
Right.
So that's why when you name a Bubba Chandler to me, I'm listening. I would listen on that. If he goes somewhere else and dominates, well, that happens
I
sometimes.
wouldn't start there. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I'd be like, you want to try Xander Meath, or you want to, how
Sure.
about that? I would start lower. I'd be like, how about Reed? Do you want, Carlson Reed? Maybe, I'd start lower in the board and see if you can work your way up and leave your top prospects untouched. Most teams like to do that. I'm just saying there's an opportunity here. There's a player that's probably blocked. Even if they make a trade of an outfielder, he probably doesn't have a spot. So, I mean, that's a guy that's clearly blocked. He's skyrocketing up their system. He has a ton of power. Yeah, you got to put the finishing touches on him. But if you can trade something that you're going to have to put the finishing touches on, to me, that's exactly what this team should be trying to find. What I don't want to get into is trading major league assets for a crap ton of minor league stuff. I want major league. If I'm moving Mitch Keller, yes. And this is the only one I'm going to say that on because the rest of them aren't getting moved. But if I'm trading Mitch Keller, I demand a major league player back as the feature. That has to be the feature. That's all. You have to have that. And here's fans are getting on Ben Cherington now for trading Quinn Priester for York. Well, okay. Boston traded him too. I mean, like, we knew Quinn Priester was going to take work. And people put the work in. It's been a while, right? And he's doing really, really well in Milwaukee. But he just started doing really, really well in Milwaukee. Let's see how it goes for a little while, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking now 3 organizations, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the path. So.
And York's 23. Are you ready to say that you're done there already? You don't think you know what he is? You think you're all figured out on Nick York? We got to make a judgment on that trade right now. It was overflow pitching. It's all that you've been bitching for him to do all season long is to trade overflow pitching for bats. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, if anything, I'd like to see more of that.
Yeah, it would be the equivalent of trading Carmen Mlodzinski for a AAA hitter. Same kind of thing. Kind of didn't make it maybe a little worse because he's actually been a good reliever. But you know what I mean? It's something along those lines. It's like Kyle Nicholas when he was good last year if they had traded him for a AAA prospect, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to get bats, you have to deal with what it takes to get them back. I don't ever complain about these things. Even the Glasnow trade to the Rays for Archer, I got it. I understood why. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you I wasn't through the roof excited as hell when they did it. It was the biggest swing they ever took at the deadline. I was absolutely beside myself excited that they made that trade. Didn't work out. Tough.
Yeah, I mean, look, producer says package Bubba and Harrington for a hitter on a Major League Baseball roster. Well, I mean, I just like where is that going to line up? Right now, with what team is that going to be something that you can swing? And nobody right now that's in the middle of trying to make the playoffs wants Bubba Chandler in the return. What are they going to do? Just pop him right in the rotation for the stretch run? Like, it's just, to me, like, again, just everybody just think through like how this has to work.
You're asking an awful lot, Jim.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, let's think through logically about like how that would have to line up. So
let's do call your shot real quick because it's a quick one. this is about a trade too. We should probably go ahead and jump right on it. Wait till you see Taylor in this one.
What up, guys? Taylor here, Shop Yins. I am on vacation, so we're gonna make this short and sweet. Jim, Gary, how you doing, guys? I got a question here. My little nephew, Sonny, wants to ask you guys a question. This will be this week's Call Your Shot. What do you say, Sonny?
Is Ben Rice gonna get traded to the Pirates?
Who do you think we would trade him for?
First base, no pitch.
Trade a pitcher for him?
Yeah.
Gary, Jim, what do you think? Ben Rice a good addition for a pitcher? I don't know. Mitch Keller, what do you think? Let us know, guys. See ya.
Well, Jim, I don't know how much you know about Ben Rice, but he's one of those guys that's kind of like borderline for the Yankees. They've been using him a lot. They use him as a DH. He's an interesting bat. I'm not sure they have a good position for him really yet. He can catch a little bit. He can play some first base. I've seen him do some other things too. I don't mind Ben Rice though as a target. Like, let's say like that. I don't know if I want to get into trying to predict what it would take for him because I'm not really sure how the Yankees value him. So I'd be speaking out of my ass. But I think like if you were to trade like a Ke'Bryan Hayes, Ben Rice is a guy that you could certainly ask for in return, at least in part. I would think that's probably a decent ask at a return, but I think he's probably a DH if you want to be safe. I think DH is probably where you'd want to use him, and I think we know a DH that's going to be back next year probably.
Yeah, Ben Rice is interesting, and I don't mean that totally in the most complimentary way. I just feel like he's just another like misfit toy that we don't even know what we could do with him. So
the Yankees aren't exactly discriminating on defense either. So, I mean, if you can't find a place for him to play in that lineup with that team, that kind of scares me a little bit about his defensive future, right? Maybe it is just they've got guys at the places where he's really, really good. And Neil, he makes league minimum. So he's only been up here a couple of years. But yeah, Ben Rice is an interesting target. I actually hadn't thought of him as a guy because he just kind of came up and really started making an impact this year, but he certainly has power. And power is the number one commodity they should be looking for, Jim, no matter what, especially in any hitters they get back. And I think you'd be doing pretty well to get somebody like that back as maybe even the feature in a Ke'Bryan Hayes trade.
yeah, here's the thing. He does have 15 home runs. So there's some pop there. I'm always hesitant with Yankee Stadium. I don't know where those home runs are going. I haven't looked at anything like that. That park plays
Put our
small.
lineup in Yankee Stadium. We got about 10 more, Jim. I mean, and we're still bad. So I would say the power translates well enough.
Well, yeah, but I could also say put Ben Rice in PNC Park. Let's see what that looks like too. So
Clemente Wall, yeah. I mean, it would be fine.
Yeah.
I think his 15 homers are 13 maybe. You know what I mean?
True. All I would say is that somebody I think you could entertain for certain things? Sure. Would I like to do I think it solves a lot of issues for the Pirates? No, it's just another piece that you have to try to figure out how you're going to do it with.
Mostly because of the glove. I just don't know where you put it. I don't know. If first base is your answer, I don't think he's supplanting Spencer Horwitz. I don't think he has the glove that he does, and I don't think that he has the contact numbers that I think we're expecting out of Horwitz. And if it's the outfield, well, I guess I could understand maybe why the Yankees wouldn't want to use him in the outfield, if only because it's one of the few places they actually have a lot of options. So maybe there's something a little bit different there. But Ben Rice is definitely an interesting target. I mean, if you're going to go with the Yankees, I don't know what else. People keep talking about this Jones kid, Spencer Jones, but I don't know. I don't know if I like him all that much. I know he just hit a couple home runs today and everything, and that's another reason why he's really, really hot at the moment. But I don't know. There's something about that kid that I'm not feeling. I've looked into it because it's been brought up to me before. I don't know.
Well, you'd be buying at the absolute highest. He's been insanely hot for last 3 weeks or something like that. And I do think there are. I want to say that it was something like with his swing and miss that still is a concern. But I mean,
so he'll fit in, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So I don't know. But the bottom line is, like, listen. If we want to get major league players in return, you got to pay to play. It's got to be like a Keller. It just has to be. Now, you can make the argument that you can't trade Keller and you shouldn't and whatnot. Okay, I get it, but that's what it would take if you're going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, because the alternative is go spend money.
Right.
And even if you say go spend money, I don't like the free agent board next year, at least from what I see so far. For a lot of the positions of need, I don't know. I say that Jim and I have acknowledged 100 times that we think IKF is a shitty shortstop. Right? 100 times we've said that.
Right.
I'm not kidding you when I tell you I think he might be the best one on the board as a free agent next year. You know what I mean? So to me, that you got to get that via trade somehow. I just feel like that has to happen, or this kid they just got has to be it, right? And I'm not sure if I want to think that yet. Need to see him a little bit.
Right. We don't even know how they're going to use him. God, I already forgot his name.
It doesn't matter. Cam something. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what we originally said we were going to talk about, these two sweeps, Jim, because is there something?
Oh, yeah.
Is there something to them playing these better teams better than they play the crappy teams?
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
All right, welcome back to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. Jim, congratulate me on not saying the wrong show name yet, not once during.
Well, the show's not over yet, so I'm not gonna do that. So
let's talk about these sweeps, because they couldn't have been more opposite. In fact, we've seen this a couple times. They have these two dominant killer sweep performances at home. They go on the road and they just get their teeth kicked in for 6 straight games. Then you go into the All-Star break. They come out of it, just get boat raced by the Chicago White Sox, and then they turn around and do the same thing to Detroit. It doesn't make any sense, Jim. Are they just getting lucky and getting these hot teams at the right time? Or is there something to this collective unit getting more up for these better teams and kind of not bringing the same fire and intensity for these lesser teams? It just feels like we play teams that we shouldn't beat way better.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I've been thinking about this because this is something you do see in baseball. It's not the Pirates take it to really like real extremes with some of this hot and cold stuff. But over the years, like just the oddities of baseball, I don't know. Does some of it just have to do, Gary, with these are 162 game season, and it's a lot of time for weird stuff to happen. Like, it's just so crazy long. And I just wonder if, like, you know, and that maybe goes into what you were saying with like running into a team at the right. All these teams play like good stretches and bad stretches, some more than others.
Yeah.
But even good teams have rough stretches and rough weeks. So like if you run into somebody, yeah, I mean, I suppose you could play them better. And the road home splits for the Pirates are so insane that like it really seems matter too. Like, are we playing someone at home? Then we're decent. If we're playing someone on the road, we're the Colorado Rockies. Like there's no in between.
It's funny because like their next 3 series are Giants, Rockies, Giants. Now, anybody
after this Diamondback series.
Yeah, after the Diamondbacks. Anybody looking at it, anybody looking at those 3 series would go, well, I guess there's a chance they could beat the Rockies in there. You know what I mean? Like maybe they'll go
Right.
3 and 6 on that trip. Maybe those three series there, they'll go 3 and 6. But what you've watched this year, is there any part of you that thinks they'll beat the crap out of the Giants in both those series and get swept by the Rockies? I mean, like, it feels like that's the type of season they're having.
Yeah. It's just they're impossible. They're impossible to know what to expect from.
It's bizarro world in many ways,
Well,
right?
they have they're one road win away less of having the least in baseball. The Rockies are 12 and 38 on the road, and the Pirates are 13 and 37. No teams have less road wins in baseball. And the Rockies are an absolute disaster. As much as you think the Pirates are a disaster, the Rockies say, hold my beer. So I just don't, and Gary, why? Why? Like, okay, your team plays better to the park and whatever, but like, the Pirates are 5 games over 500 at home. Like, it's so stark. So I lend some credence to that. Do I think players may be more up for certain games, especially when you're not? Do I think it's a jolt if you can go to somewhere and play or have a good team come in that you want to play better? Yeah, I could see that, especially when your season sucks.
I started thinking about this home and road thing a little bit, and this is another thought exercise, at least as far as what could be going on with this baseball team.
I like thought exercises.
Well,
do it.
We heard them openly complain about PNC Park and the dimensions. IKF in particular, we've heard Brian Reynolds mention it. We've heard Andrew McCutcheon even mention it, right? Now, Andrew talked about the ball too, but the ballpark was brought up. You know, it doesn't really fit what they want to do and everything. So at home, maybe they embrace some of the small ball elements of playing the game and doing the little things and moving guys over and stealing bases and doing the things that a team that isn't going to hit a lot of home runs does. And then when they get on the road in some of these smaller ballparks, they think to themselves, well, now everything's even. We can hit home runs in this place. And they completely changed their methodology for how they approach offense on the road. And hence the more strikeouts come, and they're swinging for the fences all the time, and you don't see any of the small ball. And it's just a thought. It's a theory.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, once players convince themselves of something, well, we know this, that they're convinced of it. And then sometimes it comes out, well, if you look at the numbers, that's not maybe entirely true. But it is what some of them probably believe. Could be. I think there's another interesting question in here is like, the Pirates are built on pitching. Would you really want to go changing the way PNC Park plays for hitters? I don't know. I think that's an interesting question too.
I don't know. We've played 25 years there, and they've never built the damn team via pitching in a pitcher's ballpark. They finally have, and now we're talking about changing the dimensions.
That's kind of what I was going with. I was like, would you really want to do that now? I don't know.
It would be we finally get a bank of 3 or 4 lefty power hitters, and then we're like, you know what? This Clemente wall is a mess. What are we doing? We don't need to have that short porch out there. Let's move that wall back a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what it's like to me now that you have the pitching and you want to change the park dimensions.
Yeah, and doesn't it come down to sometimes too, like, look, Arizona, have you ever seen their ballpark? To dead
Mhm.
center field, it seems like it's 700 feet. The wall is,
Ball flies like it should go out like that there too.
yeah, but so like maybe just if you have hitters, they can hit it out. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to oversimplify it, but like they seem to be getting along pretty good the last few years. You know, Corbin Carroll looks just fine. So I don't know. It's interesting though. There are such stark differences with this team on the home and away side of things. I don't know if there's an answer other than baseball's a really long season and really weird stuff happens.
The only other thing I could think of is the way that they operate their scouting and analytics teams, where they have, certain sects they send on the road and certain people that they leave at home, and it's a different mix of people. So maybe there's a different mix of looking at information or putting the information out. All I can say is that if it's supposed to make sense with the Pirates, it probably hasn't this year. They've been bizarro world from the moment that they set foot on turf this year, and it just has not gone in any direction any of us saw it going. And I mean, even down to like Paul Skeens pitching the way he has and having the win-loss totals that he does, and Mitch Keller, same thing. It makes no sense that Bailey Falter has a better record than either of those two, does it?
No, it doesn't. If there's weird stuff, the Pirates usually find a way to find it. That's pretty much all I got, dude.
Right down to some scrub that we all wanted DFA'd, changing his eyeglasses, and all of a sudden he's hitting the ball everywhere, right?
Right. Well, at least he's somebody that it didn't look like you could get a bag of Funyuns for 2 months ago. They'll get Funyuns and maybe some peanut M&Ms.
Yeah, I would agree. That would be
Yeah.
a really nice trade, I would think, if you could pull that off. So, Jim, I think that's all we got this week. Let's hope that the trade deadline is smart. That's all I'm going to hope for, is smart. Okay, whatever they do, I'm going to evaluate it. I'm going to take Ben Cherington out of the equation before I evaluate it. I'm not going to decide what it is before I've done my own independent look at it. I'm not going to just assume it was dumb because he was involved. I think that's how we have to approach all these trades right now.
Yeah, and I would say be prepared for anything. Be prepared for a lot of movement. Be prepared for very little. There's just so many unknowns right now with what's even going on there down at Federal Street and how, you know where I'm going with that. So,
I do.
So I have no expectations of a lot of movement, a little movement. Nothing would surprise me, to be quite honest.
Well, Jim, good stuff, man. I hope you have a good practice with Ben. I trust he's getting all better now from his eye and everything. So,
yeah, he had a couple doubles last night, almost hit a homer. So we're getting back on track. So I'm gonna run off to this. It's actually a game tonight, Gary. So gotta get running to some nice turf fields and
an actual game, huh?
A game.
So the next time we get together,
it's
going to actually be the trade deadline.
Yeah, it would be right now. It's exactly a week away.
So we're going to do the show purposefully after the trade deadline's over next week, right? We're going to find a way to do it. Even if we have to do it at 11 p.m., we're going to do it
coming live to your home at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
Jim and Gary.
It's going to be good stuff, man. I can't wait. Let's toss it off to Ben. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Good week.
Let's go, Bucks!
Yeah, buddy.